Today we're going to talk about how to install the servo on a KMD-FR01 chassis. Now when installing the servo, it's actually a lot easier if you install it in reverse, because that way you're going to be able to diagnose a lot of the problems a lot quicker and a lot faster. So the first thing we're going to do is actually install the tow bar. So flip the car over, take your front bumper, you're going to push down. Now the first time you do this, it might be difficult to get it in, and then slide it back and make sure everything's installed. You can put the screw in here if you want to make sure it's held nice and tightly. Flip the car over and then check to make sure if the tow bar can move side to side. Now most of them, it's going to be very, very tight because of the tolerances that we used. So in that case, you're going to have to actually file down some part of the front bumper. So you're just going to take this apart, and right here where the tow bar gets holed, you're going to take a file and you're just simply going to smoothen out the lower section, and you're going to smoothen out the upper section. You can also put some oil on this just to help the tow bar slide easier. So once again, once you finish that, you reinstall the tow bar. Make sure that it fits in nice and tight once again. All right, and then once again check to make sure it can slide easily side to side. The second step is to install the servo saver. Make sure that it is contacting the tow bar, so that if you move the tow bar, so you move the servo saver. Once again, you're going to check to make sure that that is easy to move back and forth. If it is difficult to move back and forth, it probably means that it's a little bit too tight lengthwise. So what you're going to do is pull out the servo. You're going to remove the lower portion with the tow bar, and you're simply going to file off this piece in here. Or actually you can also use an X-Acto knife to cut away any material that might be left right here. The next step is to actually install the servo motor. Now I don't have a board here so that it's easier to see, but obviously your board would already be installed. So you're going to make sure that the first thing you want to do is tap the screw holes for the servo mount. If you do strip these while installing, unfortunately you're going to have to buy a whole new chassis or find a way to fix that. So you want to tap both of those holes before installing the servo motor. Here's what the servo motor looks like with the servo motor cover installed on top. Now obviously I don't have the switch installed right here. If you need a little bit more information, make sure you go on to our online website to look at how to install the switch, because you do need to make some modifications to the switch. You need to cut down the tabs half their size so that the top cover can fit over top of the chassis. So make sure you don't skip that step before installing the rest of the servo. The next step, of course, is to install the gear assembly. So make sure you push it all the way down on all sides. Obviously you're going to need to use a servo saver here to make sure that it actually moves nice and smoothly back and forth. Now it should have very, very little friction when it's moving side to side. If you feel like the meshing of the gears is not correct between the servo motor and the servo gears, then what you can do is actually tighten these screws to try and lower the servo a little bit more, or loosen them to actually raise the servo motor a little bit more, and that will help you with the meshing. You shouldn't have any problems, but if you do have any more problems than that, you might have to remove the servo cover, remove the servo motor, and then sand down the part where the servo motor sits on in the chassis, or you might actually have to raise it up by using a little bit of tape. Now the way to do that is to make sure the meshing is correct, is to simply take apart the servo assembly itself, so that you only have the one gear remaining, the one that touches the servo motor, and then simply installing that part right there like this. And then this way it's very easy to diagnose any problems that you might have with the meshing between the servo motor and the servo gears. Okay, once you have it all finished or figured out, then you can install everything and your servo should be working very smoothly side to side.